In this day and age, it seems like we now more than ever need an overwhelming amount of positivity in order to keep us at least stable. We talk about all these incredibly wild things that happen in the world, and we try to find a way of, trying to see the good in humanity and trying to find some sort of balance in all of it. And sometimes you have to go and you have to watch a film to help you find some hope and some love in the humanity of others. And I feel like that is the core principle of an incredible film called Rental Family. Now, when I first watched the trailer to this film, I saw the first 5 seconds of this trailer, and I thought to myself, this is a very weird film. Like, why would Brendan Fraser be dressed up in like a toothpaste or like dressed up in a really weird superhero suit? Like, why would he be doing it? Like, it felt weird. Like, the first 5 seconds of that trailer just felt weird. And then as I watched the trailer, I was like, ooh, this looks like a really good movie. This looks like a really good movie. And that's when I said to myself, okay, you know what? I'm going to wait till it's out on, digital, and I'll watch it. And recently, I finally got to watch it, and I have to say, what a beautiful work of art of a film. It really does show that it doesn't matter how big or small of a budget you have. If you know how to utilize it, honestly, like, the sky's the limit. And right off the bat, cinematography-wise, it's great. It's absolutely great. Now, there are moments in this film where you're, obviously getting an overhead shot, and you start to, like, pull back, and you start to see a much, like, it's Brendan Fraser on the side of a mountain, just climbing it, and you're just seeing it, like, in real time, and it's like, whoa, okay. So they're utilizing their budget the right way. And obviously, it just grows on you. Like, the visual aspect of this film just grows on you because you're literally seeing Japan. Like, that's all you're seeing throughout the entire film. It's just either streets in Japan or the countryside in Japan, or you're seeing them, interact with one another in areas of Japan. The entire film was shot in Japan, and it just makes it even prettier every single time you watch it. It's absolutely beautiful. Everything from like drone shots or aerial shots of, Brendan Fraser just walking up a mountain, with Akira Moto. Incredible cinematography, moments that you just like, beautiful moments where you're actually seeing, like, the cherry blossoms, and you're just capturing these incredible moments with very simple cinematography, but effective cinematography nonetheless. So I just absolutely love, that as much of a smaller film that this is, they utilized what they got to actually make this film. And you don't need special effects for this movie. You don't need anything like complicated whatsoever. It's just a really great story that's being told, and it's shot in such a way that just it's visually pleasing to watch. It's just absolutely incredible. Now, the concept of this film in and of itself is very interesting because it touches upon, a very specific aspect of Japanese culture where, people don't really interact with each other very much. There isn't like this incessant need to people like group up and go places together, and it's very rare nowadays. I mean, as I've seen online and people talk about it, it's a very real thing. Loneliness in Japan is a very real thing. So I think that deep down, the rooted, aspect of this film where, it's people trying to seek some sort of connection to one another, and sort of like trying to branch out and fill in a void that is missing in their lives, and trying to build a business around that, and ultimately little by little growing to make people's lives better. Because I feel like it touches on so many interesting aspects. There's this girl who shows up and she needs somebody to, marry her, like fake marry her, so that, she has the vision of a husband. And then later on, we find out that, she already has a partner and she doesn't want to have some sort of, conflict with her family. So all these little aspects of this film where it's like, sometimes the work that you're doing doesn't look like it's a huge deal, but then when you find out what you're trying to do, what you're trying to save and protect in the process, that is the moment where you're like, okay, like, there's some hope for humanity there. And I feel like this is the type of movie that kind of brings you into that sort of like hope for humanity and wanting the best for others. And obviously the two standout relationships, at least, connections that Philip has is obviously one with Mia and one with Kikuo, who I feel like both stories kind of work their way into making Philip a better person. He's obviously trying to reach out, build a connection with people. He doesn't have any immediate family in Japan. And he is just obviously, trying to find connection with people. And I feel like having this job opportunity and going there and actually, following through with this sort of, job where he has to play role in people's lives, little roles here and there to sort of fill in gaps in people's lives, ultimately leads him to understand that, he's trying to just make people's lives better in some sort of way. And, play an actor who is actually now trying to act in real life is kind of a concept that's quite interesting as well to play in your head, because typically you'd act in front of a camera, but now you're acting in front of actual people and trying to make sure that, they end up having a better life. So the risk factor is much higher. So I feel like this movie plays into that as well. Obviously playing into, Mia, trying to have a father, and this is the guy that, he quote unquote disappeared and came back, and now he has to play this role in order so she can get into school and that sort of thing. But he ends up building an attachment to her, and I feel like that relationship connection that we see between the two is very strong and very important throughout the film, from beginning to end. And obviously, Kikuo is probably the funnest story of them because, he's this, musician, and, we need to, like, not talk about certain aspects of his music. So, we have Philip kind of play a reporter that's trying to sort of like understand who he is and what makes him tick, and sort of just ask him questions, being that he's not really a reporter, he's just acting as a reporter, but in the process, he is kind of learning more and more about this person and who this person became and who this person was, and ultimately, like, you have the quote-unquote prison break moment of the movie, which I think was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And I just like this whole, like, you start at this emotional high in this sort of prison break area where, like, oh, okay, this is really funny, and then suddenly the story gets a little bit more serious, and you start to understand where this entire story is leading to, and this sort of connection, and trying to remember, the loved ones that he had. Obviously his wife, who passed away, and he's just trying to, like, remember her. So I feel like it's a very emotional roller coaster of a film, and playing into all those story aspects just makes this movie even better, and wanting to, like, add some sort of hope to humanity. And I feel like that's the core of the story. So let's shout out our main actors here. Obviously, Brendan Fraser, absolutely chef's kiss, perfect job on his end, trying to fit these roles and be the quote-unquote token white guy, as they refer to him as, in this job. And then obviously we have Shannon Gorman, who plays Mia. She did great in this movie as well. She has to play sort of like a shy girl that, is trying to find some sort of connection to her quote-unquote father, being that, Philip isn't her father, but he has to play that role, so she has to find that connection between her fake father, technically in this case. And then, obviously, Shannon did a great job, but then we have Marie Yamamoto, who also does a great job being sort of like a friend to Philip in this moment, who's trying to like guide him through the process, and also having conflicts within herself that she needs to work through. I think Marie Yamamoto does a great job, portraying this sort of like person who's in this job that ultimately is starting to see like the cracks build within the job world that she's in. So it's very interesting to see her play with that conflict. And then you have Takehiro Hida, who is a great actor, obviously part of the whole Monarch family, like Maria Yamamoto as well. Great actor, has, even though he plays a smaller role in this movie, because we're with Brendan Fraser most of the time, he does a great job sort of like piecing together the gaps that we need to know, like, why is certain things happening the way they are, or does he have a family? Is he doing this for his family? And then we start to find out, no, he's playing a role with that family and trying to learn how to be, a better father in the process. It's a very interesting sort of dynamic that he plays out in his head, and trying to learn these emotions that he's still trying to work through. So obviously Takehiro Hida, absolutely amazing in this role. And obviously the standout of this movie, Akira Emoto, playing a role of obviously the old man who's, retired, and he's just like, I'm doing this, whatever, and ultimately having these moments of, enlightenment where he teaches things to Philip, where Philip starts to think of the world differently in the process, and trying to like push himself to be better in every aspect of his life, especially because, if it isn't for Kikuo, he ultimately wouldn't be, so forcefully wanting to make Mia a happier, kid. He wouldn't be focused on making Mia a happy kid. So having Akira Emoto play this role and put in this position is great, because he's a fantastic actor and he just plays it like it is. So absolutely excellent acting here. Now, there is one downside to this entire movie. I think this is probably the bad part of this movie. And the thing is that this movie takes place in Japan. And, it's very beautiful and it's shot very well and everything. And the problem is that due to how well this movie is shot, it just makes me want to go to Japan. And that's a bad thing, because I don't have the money to go to Japan. So, yeah, there you go. Like, it's not honestly, I'm being sarcastic here. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. This is like honestly, like a beautifully made film. It's a beautifully made film. And honestly, like, after watching the movie, it will definitely spark your interest to go into Japan. Like, it just makes you want to go to Japan even more, due to how beautifully shot this movie is, and due to the beautiful locations that they show throughout the film as well. Whether it's near cherry trees or the cherry blossoms, or if it's in the city, or if it's out in the countryside, all these different places are just absolutely beautiful. And if this movie doesn't incentivize you to go to Japan, I don't know what. And honestly, I definitely recommend you go and watch Rental Family. Rental Family is a beautiful film. However small it is, it's an hour and 45 minutes. It's a short film. It's a pretty short, standard, basic, to the, straight to the point type film. So you won't have to, wait a 3-hour long film. It's an hour and 45 minutes. Easy watch. You can put it on and you'll watch it. And it's just a beautiful film. A film that you will cry a couple times. You will laugh a lot of times. But you, most importantly, are going to leave this film with some sense of, hope for humanity, hope for love, hope for the betterment of humankind. Let's put it like that. And I feel like it's movies like this that make a positive change in society, and hopefully this movie does some sort of success and ultimately spreads around to multiple people, so multiple people can promote this film and be like, hey, listen, we can do better here, right? We can do better. So hopefully this is what happens to this film, and ultimately it garners the success it deserves. But like I say in every single one of my videos, these are just my thoughts, my opinions, my views on movies, TV shows, and games. And I want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you think that this film is as good as I say it is? Maybe you don't. Maybe you watched this movie and you thought, this is just not for me. I want to know why you think that down below. I want to know if you like Brendan Fraser doing smaller films. Let's be honest, he won his Oscar due to a smaller film. The Whale is a smaller film, and he made, his Oscar, reality come true due to that smaller film. So I would not be surprised if other people here get nominated, whether it be Maria Yamamoto or Shannon Gorman or Akira Imoto or Takehiro Hida. I mean, who knows? Who knows? These people could be nominated for Oscars in the future due to a small little role like this. So maybe you agree with me. Maybe a smaller role like this is probably what pushes an actor to getting an Oscar. I don't know. I want to hear from you, your thoughts on Rental Family down below. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel. And thank you for watching this video. And I'll see you in the next video.
Scrolling through YouTube, same old routine, then bam, movie savant, what a scene. Trivia bombshells dropping knowledge like rain. Forget the dishes, gotta watch it again. Movie buffs unite, savants to place. Subscribe and hit the bell, don't leave a trace. Next level knowledge keeps you in the loop. Savants got the scoop, ain't nothing to recoup.